Hey guys, today we're going to be covering how to make a flat blade, such as this. Alright, um, I'm just covering blade construction in this one because I'm out of Frost King foam. But yeah, stuff you're going to need, roughly in order of use. Blue camp mat, a golf club. This is leftovers from another project, so I'm not actually making a full-size blade out of it. What next? You will need a knife, and then, okay, cloth cover, that actually comes almost last, hot glue, a penny, packing tape, and double-sided carpet tape, and electrical tape. And then a Dremel tool or hacksaw. So yeah, there's the list of parts, and I'll get to the next segment. Alright, segment 2, cutting the core to length. You will do the math for how long you need your core to be. That's not my thing. And I actually need to grab a pair of pliers real quick. For this tutorial, I'm just gonna pretend this is the handle and make it as long as possible. So, you're gonna use pliers to kind of torque this plastic collar just below the golf club head off if you want to cut up there to get your maximum length out. If you're cutting lower, don't worry about it. Alright, so there's the collar loose enough. Next, you grab electrical tape. Just a few inches. And then you're going to wrap it around the area you're going to cut. The electrical tape is used here to prevent your golf club from splintering. Also, I must note, you can use literally any non-metallic golf club. Graphite or fiberglass are the two you run across often. That being said, I'm going to throw this stuff on the do not recommend to inhale, and I'm going to throw a blanket over my laptop keyboard so it doesn't get into it. Dremel, and then just cut it. Alright, get everything off. So there you should have a cut. At this point you can go ahead and take off the electrical tape and then remove the plastic collar off of the freshly cut end. Alright, so there's cutting the core. On to the next step. Alright, segment 3, capping the core. So pretty much capping the core is making the core large enough at the end that it cannot punch through the end of the boffer easily. So this is very simple. All you're going to do is hot glue a penny to the end of your core. Before anyone asks or comments, no, I'm not destroying currency. These are 100% recoverable if you ever want to do so. And my hot glue gun's jamming a little bit. But yeah, just hot glue the penny onto the end of the core, and it's capped. Alright, this should be segment 5, and I'm taking it at a weird angle so you can see what I'm doing on the desk. This is pretty much shaping your blade. So do these steps in whatever order you want, but pretty much your blade width needs to be 2.5 inches. Conveniently enough, that's right as wide as this cut is because, gosh, maybe I did this exact width beforehand or in a previous project. So we're just gonna mark it at 2.5 inches above and below. Just use our core as a convenient little straight edge. And there we go. There's a rectangle 2.5 inches wide. Gonna kind of round out the end because everyone knows a rounded blade end looks nicer. And then you need to go in 1 inch from the end. Frick, let's go that way. Mark across there. Then center your core on that line near the end. And trace down the sides of it. Alright. And then the only other detail you need to worry about here is you're going to make this line a little wider to allow for the penny. Alright. So once your middle piece looks like that, you just go ahead and cut it out. I'll do that off camera to not waste your time. Alright, next segment, finished cutting the center piece out, and I've also made 2 more copies of it, just without the slot out the middle. As I was cutting these out, I remembered something kind of important. It's nothing major, this will still be a completely legal blade, but I left an inch buffer on each side. You only need a 1/2 inch buffer on your flat pieces. So the blade only needed to be roughly the size of that shape. This will still result in a legal blade, and that inside shape will also result in a legal blade if you made it that small. But we're just pretending I decided to make a blade slightly fatter than normal. Alright, so this next part is... I wish my hot glue gun would stop jamming. I'm gonna have to take this thing apart and look at it. But this next part is just gluing the core into the central flat bit. My personal method for shaping hot glue is licking my finger and rubbing it. It is worth noting, as a ginger, I am fireproof. If you are easily burned, I would not recommend this method. But, come on. We're just gonna go down the inside of the foam, pouring hot glue all the way. There are other methods of doing this online, but I find this to be my personal favorite. And we're going to go down the other side doing the same thing. And while I'm working on this, I'll just tell you, specifically directed at AJ, because you were planning on making an axe. This shape, the blade shape, is whatever the heck you want it to be. if you want to make an axe, this would be the shape of your axe. Add a loop there, stuff like that. Just keep the other rules of boffer construction in mind. Alright. Then we're going to run an extra bead down each side. And shape it a bit to seal it well. Do the same on the back. Once again, just a quick reminder that hot glue is hot, so don't be dumb. Alright, and that's the end of gluing the central blade onto the core. So, completely forgot to hit record last segment. So, all that's happened is we attached one side to the central flat. And I'm just doing a little bit of shaping right now while I'm talking. Alright. So, double checking we are recording this time because this is important. It's carpet tape time. Lay it out. Carpet tape likes to stick the first time, so be very precise with it. Make a little slit in the tape right next, well, over the penny, so it fits over the penny easily. Just like that. Squish everything down. It is important to not overlap your carpet tape because you have to pull off a top layer for it. And if it's overlapped, you can't. Get everything squished down, and we're going to go around the edge and trim off the excess. Then find a corner of the tape and tease off the upper layer. I find this is easiest to do when the tape is actually stuck to something. Alright, and that's inconvenient, but it'll come off. Alright. Now that we have that done, find the slit you made in your side blade, make sure that's lined up right, and place your side down and squish it down all together. Then you'll notice the edges don't quite line up perfectly, so if you want / if you can, just take a knife and kind of trim them a little bit. That's what I'm going to go do right now. For our next part, we're going to need our Frost King again. You're going to pretty much make a perimeter around the striking surface of your blade. So you're just gonna take your blade and kind of measure out the length you need on more camp mat, and then just cut it out. It should just be one long rectangle. I'll be back in a sec. Up next, we're going to use the carpet tape again, and just wrapping that around. Press the carpet tape down all the way, and then once again find a corner and tease off the backing. Alright, without setting it down because the entire edge is sticky, stick it down, and just pull on it and pull it around. And then just stick everything together. Squish, squish, yeah. Alright. So that's blade construction done. Next we're going to do the covering for it. Alright, our next step is a packing tape layer over the entire blade. You will need to do some layering and stacking to make sure everything works right. Only use packing tape for your blade cover. If you use, I better not talk while I'm pulling. If you use duct tape as a blade covering material, I will find you and I will smack you with a duct tape covered boffer. It's not pleasant. Alright, our first wrap is going to be around the base of the blade. Don't make this horribly tight. You'll see how I'm only deforming the corners a little bit. This is to make sure that our perimeter bit does not come off. If I was, hell, I'll do it here. For longer blades, I also recommend a second crosswise wrap at the top, like I'm doing right now, and usually another one about every 8 inches to a foot in the middle. Alright. And then you're just gonna take strips down your boffer. Lost my tape there. I'll have to go grab that. Just lay strips down. I don't like how that was placed, so I'm gonna actually line it up there. Your goal here is to cover the entire surface of your boffer blade in at least one layer of packing tape, if not two. So the reason I redid the positioning for that last one is I like to make sure the corners are covered pretty well and the edge is split between two pieces, and then I'll do a third piece over the top just to get that second layer. Properly doing, I need to shut up while I'm pulling on tape. Properly doing your packing tape cover is what will make or break your boffer. Both in longevity and, well, no, not breaking. I guess that's also longevity. But still, do good packing tape. Take some time with this. Do your best to avoid wrinkles in the tape. Like there's got to be wrinkles just because that's where it curves. But you'll notice on the rest of it, I'm doing everything I can to not have creases in it. This is, once again, to try and avoid hurting anyone with these boffers, because that's why you're making it like this, so you don't hurt people. And I'm just blabbering, mostly to try and keep the viewer entertained while I put the same piece of tape on for the third and then fourth time. That piece was a little long, so I'm gonna position it right and trim it short. Once again, you're trying to keep everything nice and smooth. Alright, so I've got the 4 edges covered in packing tape. My next strip is going to be up one side and down the other. Don't wrinkle, don't wrinkle. Don't wrinkle. There we go. Flatten everything out. And then my last strip of packing tape is going to be along the entire length of the blade edge. Gently smooth everything down, try and keep it nice and even. So now the entire surface of our boffer blade is coated with a minimum of 1 layer of packing tape. I don't think I even need to cut for this next segment. I do need to stand up and grab something. Alright, your blade cover. For a shorter blade, you can use a sock. For a longer blade, I usually pick up a cheap pair of women's tights, black with feet. So you just take your cloth cover and tug it over the blade. Tug it down. Alright. And then take your electrical tape and you're going to wrap just below the blade. So there's a covered blade, and then if I were to actually keep this thing, I would cut that off but I'm not, so just pretend this part of the sock is gone. And then you have a perfectly legal boffer. It is worth pointing out, as a flat blade, the flat sides are not legal striking surfaces. The entire edge is, including a stabbing tip. So yeah, there's your flat blade making tutorial. Keep in mind you still need to make a pommel for this, that's very important. I just don't currently have any Frost King, and I always make my pommels out of Frost King. Once I order another stick, that tutorial will be up.